Hello, everybody. My name is Mason, and today I want to do a full review on Season 5 of Outer Banks. Now, I already did my reaction or whatnot, so I just thought I would do like a full review kind of thing, because there's so much more to talk about that I can't really say in an initial reaction video. So I wanted to, express my thoughts about it. Now, there are going to be spoilers, so spoilers right here, man. If you haven't seen the season, don't watch this video. If you have, then join me for 10 minutes of just me talking about the season. I mean, where to start from? I mean, from the get go, we get the flashback of when Key and JJ first met and how their interaction kind of started and whatnot, right? And then we kind of get this whole like kind of thing where we see the whole group after that kind of flashback, kind of grieving their own way from the loss of JJ and everything. They're still in Morocco. They're still trying to hunt down the Blue Crown, trying to get Groff, but they're all kind of dealing with grief their own way. Where Kiara just wants to kill him. John B and Sarah are kind of like trying to figure out how this situation is gonna work. The fact that John B wants to take the high road. He doesn't want to kill Groff. Like Key does, and Key is going like off the rails and whatnot. She wants to kill Groff the same way he killed JJ. Stabbing in the heart twist. Do the little nitty gritty stuff. He, um, but yeah, and then you have Pope that's kind of dealing with it in his own way. He's kind of silent because he's trying to deal with the fact that like he's shot somebody and everything, and Cleo's trying to help him out and everything, kind of keep him you know at bay. And you have Rafe, who's just a maniac. But Rafe has some really good character development in this season, right? Rafe goes from this character who like is hated and everything because what he did to Peterkin and everything in the first season, and what he did to Pope with the cross and melting it down and everything. And he goes on this journey throughout this whole season where he actually becomes an actual like guy, actually has a heart, actually learns to accept the fact that he might not be the kook that he thinks he is, because he kind of has a thing where like he goes back with Sophia, and he kind of realizes that what he did with Sophia was wrong because Sophia did wrong him, of course, right? But still, he wronged her first because he said that I would never be with a Pogue. I would never do that. I'm too kook enough for it. But no, he actually goes back and they get back together and everything, and he's only wanting what's best for Sophia and him. At the end, he actually cares about people. He cares about his sister. He cares about Wheezy. He doesn't care about Rose. He wants to make sure that all of his family is safe and sound. Like kind of like what his dad wanted to do. Right? But his dad is kind of a psychopathic maniac who tried to steal the merchant gold and everything. So there's that, I guess. Um, what else should I say? John B's and Sarah's kind of thing going at it, where they have a kid and whatnot. They do have a thing about the season where Sarah does these kind of different action sequences, and it doesn't seem like she has a bun in the oven. As sometimes that's an old term. I'm sorry, but basically, uh, they kind of make it seem like that she doesn't have a baby in her tummy, so she does like these somersaults, these flips. She's doing all this action stuff, and I just think to myself, doesn't she have a baby? Shouldn't she not be doing this? Right? I mean, I know it's not the first part, but still, it's kind of strange. And there are some parts where they're trying to go after. Let's get into the main story now, because I'm kind of just talking about characters and whatnot. But after they like come back from Morocco and everything, they kind of get deported back to the country because they get arrested and whatnot. Because Key tried to kill Groff with a gun, gets deported. Cleo goes back to the Bahamas, and the rest of the gang goes back to the United States. That's the thing with Cleo, is that Cleo keeps on getting like deported and whatnot, like out of the states and whatnot. She gets in trouble, and it's kind of not. I kind of didn't like that aspect too, where the fact that he kept on sending Cleo back to the Bahamas and deporting her back, kind of thing, is kind of weird, whatnot. So we have Pope kind of dealing with that by he went to prison for his ankle monitor. He went to started smoking marijuana, smoking pot, drinking. Pope went completely off the rails. He got back to the senses though back in the later episodes, but yeah, for the time being, after they figure out that the crown wasn't the only thing that was needed for like the ritual whatnot to bring people back to life, because they needed a what's it called, the snitch snooch, crap, what was it called, the scythe, skith, the skith, the skith. I can't think of anything. I'm so sorry. But basically, that's like it has like the incantation on it and everything, to where they can actually say what they need to say for the blue crown to work. And they figure out that it belonged to Martani, and the only person who had it was at Tannehill. So they think that Ward or someone may have had it, but no. It turns out that Sarah's mom kept it for herself, who's in New Orleans, by the way. And they basically go to New Orleans and uh, find Sarah's mom, which is really cool. We never seen Sarah's mom before. We heard her through the stories and whatnot, and we kind of see how Sarah's mom like came to be and whatnot, like how she is and stuff, and why she left in the first place, which because Ward drugged her and framed her for, maltreating her kids and whatnot, which is a really good plot point. And they go to find this the whatever, the incantation stick, and she turns them down initially, but when the guys come and try and find it, it turns out she does have it and everything, and stuff goes off the rails from there too, because John B needs it because they want to sell the crown because he's in debt because he found a thing of pot in the lake and sold it, and he got in trouble with a drug dealer. So Sarah has a hit on her and everything. So like, yeah, it's a complete thing where like John B always gets in trouble some way, and he ends up getting in trouble like this, where he tries to break into Topper's house. He throws in leagues with Rafe and Barry, and everything just goes off the rails, in the middle of the season and everything. Anyhow, the overarching like kind of thing of it is trying to get the crown and the thing back, so they can sell it or whatnot. So when they do eventually try and find it down and go out there, Finch is the leader of the Crosshairs. When they do initially find out Finch, they go after him back in like the in Morocco, or not Morocco, but in Abu Dhabi. I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere in South America, Brazil. I don't know. Anyhow, they fly there, and basically they do end up trying to get the crown back. And when they do get the crown back, he wants to go to the incantation site and try and beat back JJ. So she ends up doing that, and in doing so, you know, the crown does bring people back to life, but not what you think it does. It brings back the memories, the good times you had with them. It shows you what you had and how good it was. Because during that scene, after she did the incantation, it showed all the good things that happened, all the things that were great out of the friendship and everything. And that really got me teary eyed because that was at the end of episode 9. That's what made me start ugly crying, was the fact that, it all showed all these flashbacks and sequences where we just had JJ back with the team. And it was just amazingly done, amazingly feels and everything like that. And back in OBX, Groff gave Shoop a letter about Rafe killing Peterkin. So, you have the sheriff's chasing down Rafe, having Sophia in jail, and we actually like Rafe now in this later part of the season because he has great character development and everything. I actually like Rafe now as a character and everything. At first I hated Rafe, but after this season, Rafe's actually a pretty decent guy. Like, sure, he killed Peterkin, but he has so much regret and feelings toward that and what he was trying to do just to protect his father and everything. But overarching that, you have that contrast between, you know, how Key was able to do this revenge and whatnot and everything. And you have Groff, who's just trying to get all his affairs in order because he wants the crown to bring back Larissa, which is kind of redundant because he did kill her in the first place. So I don't know why he would kind of do that. But anyhow, the season ends. The season finale is about them returning to the OBX after trying to get the crown, and there's a hurricane, and basically it's all of them trying to survive the hurricane. Ray trying to break Sophia out of prison and everything, and everyone figuring out that like they actually like could like die in this hurricane and whatnot. So they're trying to save people. The OBX is in danger. This whole big global event kind of thing, and it was just amazingly done. And they actually had Key kill Groff. Key killing Groff at the end of the season was actually really needed. I don't know why my TV just turned off. Bear with me. I'm so sorry. But yeah, um, it was really well done in that aspect because it actually showed Key getting her revenge, getting her whatever back at Groff. So when she finally does do that, Groff actually got a hold of the merchant gold that Rose was keeping. So he had it on his boat, but for Key to survive, she had to dump it in the ocean. And after Key gets stranded, the team gets everyone back. Everyone survives, of course, except for Groff. But you know, they end up going back where they found Key, and they go scuba diving, and they find the merchant gold. And the last like 20 minutes of the episode is them spending that gold on what matters to them. Pope bought Cleo's passage into the United States, bought her a ring and proposed. Sarah and John B had a kid and named it JJ and got married. And he rebuilt his house from scratch after what Topper did. And after all that, they all had their own pieces of gold. He brought back the whole Maybank property, started a whole go thing for the dolphins and everything, for nature. Um, the OBX was destroyed, so all the kooks and the pokes kind of lived together. So Topper became this kind of down to earth person now. He works at a bar and whatnot. So everyone kind of pulls their own weight and everything. And I think it's just a great culmination of what the OBX or whatever is about. Pogue life forever. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're come from. You can always treat others with respect and everything. And the fact that they all have these, almost all of them have a happy ending. Rafe goes and runs off with Sophia to South America. You know, um, John B and Sarah have a kid and they name it JJ. Pope and Cleo get married. Key starts this nature reserve thing. Everyone kind of lives its own happily ever after, and it's really well done and bittersweet. And I just love the way the season ended. So yeah, thank you all for very, very much for listening to my review. I only expected it to be 10 minutes. It's gonna be 12 minutes, but thank you all very much for watching, and hope you all have a good one. See y'all later. P for L.